Hello and welcome to biology class. In our previous class, we discussed about the most beautiful part of a plant, that is flower and its structure. Today we are going to discuss inflorescence. Flowers can be born on the shoot either singly or in cluster. The arrangement of flowers on the floral axis is called inflorescence. It is of several types depending on the order of development of flower and the mode of branching. Inflorescence can be of the following types. See the picture. Here are two types of inflorescence. First is racemose inflorescence and second is cymose inflorescence. So at first let's discuss about the racemose inflorescence. In this type, the main axis of inflorescence continues to grow and does not end in a flower. It gives off flowers literally, with the oldest flower occupying the lowest and youngest flower occupying the highest position on the floral axis. This order of development of flowers is called acropetal order. Racemose inflorescence is of the following three types. Number 1 is with the main axis elongated. That means this can be further be of three types: raceme, spike and catkin. In a raceme, flowers are borne in short pedicels or stalks. You can see the picture. In a spike, the flowers are not borne on stalks, and in a catkin, flowers are unisexual. For example, gulmohar and mulberry. Next, coming to the second one, with the main axis shortened. This can be of further two types, corymb and umbel. In a corymb, the pedicels of the lower flowers are longer, and in an umbel, all pedicels begin from the same point. Example, hawthorn, coriander and scintilla. And the last type of racemose is called capitulum or head. All flowers are sessile and are borne on the main axis, that is flattened. Here is a picture. You can see this type of inflorescence is called head. All flowers are sessile and are borne on the main axis, that is flattened. Next, coming to zymous inflorescence. In this type, the growth of the main axis is checked by the development of a flower at its tip. The picture on the screen, the right side picture, shows zymous inflorescence. The growth of the lateral axis is also checked by formation of a flower at its end. The oldest flower is terminal and the younger flowers grow laterally. This order of development of flowers is called basipetal order. Cymose inflorescence can be of the following three types. First is uniparous zyme. It produces only one lateral branch at a time, each ending in a flower. For example, begonia. Next, biparous zyme. It produces two lateral branches at a time, each ending in a flower. And the last one is multiparous zyme. It produces a number of lateral branches at a time, each ending in a flower. For example, Xalotropis. So, this was all about the inflorescence. Our next topic is pollination. So, what is pollination? In our previous class, we have discussed that flowers have two parts, male part that is stamen and the female part that is pistil. So, How do they work? Let's discuss. What is pollination? The transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma is called pollination. Pollination occurs between the flowers belonging to the same type. Pollination may occur in two ways. First is self-pollination and second is cross-pollination. So, what is self-pollination? The transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or of a flower born in the same plant is called self-pollination. For example, pollination in a pea flower. And what is cross-pollination? The transfer of pollen grains from the anther of a flower of one plant to the stigma of a flower of another plant of the same kind is called cross-pollination. So, self-pollination occurs on the same plant and cross-pollination occurs on two different plants. Now, the pollination takes place in plants through different agents. They are called pollinating agents. Wind, water, and animals such as birds, bats, and insects are some agents of pollination. So, let's discuss about this briefly. First is pollination by wind. Wind pollinated flowers are not colorful. They have very light weight pollen grains which can be easily carried by the wind. These flowers are neither scented nor do they secrete nectar. The pollen grains are produced in large quantities. The stigmas of the receiving flowers are feathery to catch the pollen grains. For example, maize is pollinated by wind. Next is pollination by water. Aquatic plants use water as a means for pollination. These plants have small, non-showy flowers and light pollen which can easily float on water. The pollen grains are also covered with a protective waxy layer which prevent them from getting damaged by water. In this picture you can see this is the example of pollination by water. Pollen from wind and water pollinated plants may not always land on the receiving flowers and may fall on other flowers as well. In order to increase the chance of the receiving flowers getting pollen, these plants produce a greater number of pollen grains. Next, pollination by animal. Birds, insects, bats and other animals also act as agents of pollination. Plants that are pollinated by animals have large, showy and brightly colored flowers. They may be sweetly scented or produce sugary nectar to attract the animals. These flowers also produce sticky or spiny pollen grains that stick to the body of insects and are carried by them. For example, pollination in sunflower and hibiscus. So, today we have discussed about the inflorescence, its types, pollinations, types of pollinations, and about the pollinating agents. That's all today. In our next class, we shall discuss about the fertilization.